Where are we? Here's a good one.
Lateral bending, circumduction, abduction, adduction, but muscles only pull. Hey guys, this is Brendan bringing you health and fitness for real people by a real person. Welcome to the show. Hey guys, Brendan here. Today we're going to be talking about anatomy and why it's so important to understand if you're exercising regularly in the gym. So, as part of my job as a personal trainer and fitness coach, it's really important that I have a fantastic understanding of human anatomy. Not just the muscles, the names of the muscles, but also what they are pulling on. And they don't push. We push, but muscles only pull. That's a simple concept to know, but not everyone really thinks about it. And if we want to push, like chest press, for example, we're pushing. The chest muscles shorten, so they're pulling. The shoulder muscles at the front, they shorten, and the tricep muscles on the back of the arm, they all shorten. And collectively, it gives us the opportunity to push. Now, my muscles, they can only pull, but there are three muscle contraction types. There's a lengthening contraction, shortening contraction, and an isometric or static muscle contraction. So let's have a look at my bicep. To bend my elbow, I have to contract the bicep. When I pull the band, my bicep has to contract by shortening to bend the elbow so that I can row this in. When I lower the weight, my muscles aren't pushing. They're still contracting, but they're lowering the weight. So it's kind of like tug of war. If you think about tug of war and the other team's winning, I can give the weight to them, all right, or give them some of the rope. Now the same thing's happening in our muscles. Our muscles are contracting, but they're lengthening whilst contracting. And if I was just to hold it there like that, it's contracting and it's not changing in length. Our body is just a bunch of levers with rams attached to them, essentially. Some of the key movements that we have access to that are probably the most important is flexion and extension. So, well, that's two. But we've got elbow, flexion, extension. We've got hip, flexion, extension, knee, flexion, extension. Lateral bending, circumduction, abduction, adduction, shoulder or scapular elevation, depression, retraction, protraction. Collectively, that gives us movement. So, hey, all of these movements enable us to develop a nice physique, but also just maintain good quality of life. We are made to move, so it's really important that we do so on a regular basis. In fact, some people that are managing injuries, they avoid moving because it creates pain, but in fact, in most situations, correct movement performed on a consistent and regular basis may manage that pain, and it may even resolve the pain when done correctly. That's key there. Understanding that muscles have an origin and insertion point, it's an obvious one if you think about it. You don't need to know the origin and insertion, however, it helps to have a basic understanding. Like I talked about in my tricep video, the triceps meaning three, there's three heads or three muscles in the triceps, that's where the name is derived. So the triceps have one origin above the shoulder joint, and then the other two come from the top of the arm. They all merge and connect to the bone in the forearm on the other side of the elbow joint to act on the elbow joint, and also they act a little bit on the shoulder joint, as discussed in that video. Our whole body is able to move because every muscle crosses a joint. So to do a simple sit-up and develop your core or midsection, what are we doing when we do a crunch? We bring our rib cage closer to our pelvis. The origin and insertion is the sternum and bottom ribs and the hips, so they pull each other closer together. And to stand upright, we've got muscles across our back here which pull everything up. To bend our knees, we use the back of our thighs. To straighten our knees, we use the front of our thighs, the quads. And the last couple of days I've talked about bicep curls and tricep extensions, which means our elbows are going into elbow flexion and elbow extension. Now, flexion is commonly misinterpreted. People say flex your biceps, but it's not your biceps that are flexing, it's your elbow that's flexing, and it's your bicep that is contracting. And that contraction happens when we bend the elbow, but if you're controlling a weight down in a bicep curl, for example, the bicep's still contracting while we lower the weight. That's a lengthening muscle contraction. We have a shortening muscle contraction, and we have a contraction where we don't actually change the length in the muscle at all. An example of this type of contraction in practical terms is a plank, where we're holding our body rigid, but our core muscles are contracting. In fact, way more than that is contracting. Muscles throughout the whole body are contracting. Also, a squat hold is a really fantastic way to train the leg muscles without moving the joints, because you're stationary, you're holding just in that squat position. They're called isometric muscle contractions when the muscles aren't changing in length but they are contracting. And it's a really useful tool to utilize if you're nurturing an injury, or maybe you have arthritis and you're trying to train muscles around the joint that's problematic without actually creating any wear and tear. The amount of people I speak to that want to know how to train a particular muscle group and which machines to do, or they say, what machine trains X muscle, right? And I think that the question, while seemingly relevant, is a little bit suboptimal, that question. A better question is, what movements train X muscle? So if we are pushing something away from our body on a horizontal plane, I know that we're training the chest muscles, we're training the front of the shoulders, and we're training the back of the arms. So a really good example of this is a push-up. Now, in reality, in the environment, we're moving up and down vertically, but in terms of human movement, we're pushing on a horizontal plane, because anatomical position is a human standing upright, and the way our arms move relative to an upright position is the reference point that we use with human movement. So a horizontal push is always when the arms are pushing straight out in front of the trunk. Whether I'm lying down facing down, or if I'm lying on my back facing the roof. So basically, a push-up is a horizontal push. A lying down on your back doing a barbell bench press, that's a horizontal push. Seated in a seated chest press machine where I've got handles with a pulley system lifting a weight stack and I'm pushing straight out, that is still a horizontal push, and in that case, coincidentally, I'm upright, so I'm actually moving horizontally in the environment too. So that makes it a bit easier. In terms of our lower body, we've got a squat pattern, we've got a hip hinge pattern, and these movements are really important to understand, because when we pick something up off the ground, it's really important to understand what's happening at the joints that are moving. So as I go down, my ankles are being used, my knees are being used, my hips are being used. My shoulders are hanging, but they are moving, which means there's muscles in my upper back that are bracing to support the movement. I think it's time for me to wrap this one up, guys. So let me quickly sum it up. Our body is basically a bag full of bones and muscles, and the muscles are kind of like rams on an excavator. The muscles can only pull, and they act on joints to create human movement. And I like to think of it kind of like a game of tug of war, because most of our joints have a muscle on either side of that joint, and they're pulling and tugging and playing that game of tug of war. Another takeaway point is that our muscles have 3 contraction types, which is eccentric, basically the lengthening muscle contraction, concentric, which is the shortening muscle contraction, and static or isometric muscle contraction, where the muscle doesn't change length, but it is in fact contracting. Muscles can only create a pulling force. And the reason I made this video is because understanding these concepts can assist you in creating a balanced workout routine, because ultimately understanding that muscles act on both sides of a joint or surrounding joints means that our body needs to have like this yin and yang effect all the muscles responsible for pushing have opposing muscles which are the ones responsible for pulling. So for the most part, we should have equal pushing strength as we do pulling strength. It will not always be the same, but for the most part, we want to have similar. And that similar strength is going to mean healthier joints because the joints have balanced tension on each side. If you're looking for a resource to learn more about anatomy in depth, then you can check out teachmeanatomy.info, but also you can just drop a comment in the section down below and let me know if there is an area that you want me to focus on for a particular video, and I'll do my best to get that video together for you so you can check it out. Hey guys, if you like the videos that I've been making, it would mean so much to me if you could hit that subscribe button just down here. I'll leave a button, and if you also want to check out any other videos that I've made, then check out these videos that are suggested, and then from there hopefully you can continue learning and continue getting some entertainment from me if you're into this stuff. See you guys in the next one.